Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and today we are reviewing Married at First Sight Season 16, Episode 8. Here at this channel we do a quick therapeutic review where we utilize internal family systems model to really kind of understand what's happening inside of these couples as they are interacting with each other and learning themselves, and potentially we'll also get to learn a little bit about ourselves. If you are returning, welcome back. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get into it. First we have Eris and Jasmine. And Eris is seeing Jasmine's place for the first time, as last week we saw Eris' place, and he is thoroughly impressed. He's thoroughly impressed by her shrine of accomplishments, her crown. He said, I asked for a black queen and they literally gave me a black queen. Like, wow, this is amazing. And he said, like, hey, you're a bit humble, but you need to like step up your confidence a little bit. Like, you've accomplished some really great things. That's like really impressive. And she was like, okay, I hear you. And so then they hear the dogs in the background. Dun, dun, dun. As Eris does not seem excited about meeting these dogs. Now, we do see and learn that when he was little, over his grandmother's house, I believe he said that a dog scratched him in his head and he's kind of traumatized by it. So he's like, I don't know about these dogs, but they're so cute. They're so cute. He held little Tesla, and I think he wanted to buy a little Tesla. He said, a dog this little, I would just keep in the bed and it would sleep with me. See, he's okay. Now, he did meet the mama of Tesla. I can't remember her name. Met the mama, Tesla's mother, and he looked at her like, you're a little big. So we'll see, because that's the dog that's coming to the apartment. We'll see how that goes. Jasmine and Eris are meeting with Pastor Cal, and he says, okay, how are things doing? Let's talk about the wedding date. Like, how did it go? And Jasmine said, when I saw him, I walked down the aisle, I was relieved. I was like, okay, he looks good. I'm good, And Pastor Cal was like, okay. And Eris said, well, I didn't know pastors could be haters too. I get it. A little jokey joke. But Eris said when it came to the honeymoon, though, he was a bit uncomfortable. Like, he was panicking because he felt bad. Like, he felt bad that he wasn't as attracted to her as she was to him. And he could feel the pressure of, like, her wanting this to happen. She said, yeah, like, I would want him to initiate it, get it started, because that I want somebody to want me. I want someone to desire me. And Pastor Kel was like, okay, well, is she attractive? And Erin said, yeah, she's attractive, but, I kind of have, like, my type. And Jasmine said, yeah, I'm not his type. And then, so, like, Eris has a part of him that maybe doesn't understand, maybe discretion on what to say to protect her feelings a little bit. Because he said, well, because usually I'm a very physical person. Like, that room in Jamaica, that was like the perfect scene for me to do, work my magic. That's how I'll sum up what he said, because he used a lot of details to talk about what he would do. Okay. And Jasmine's hearing this. Oh, in any other situation, if I was your type, you would be doing X, Y, and Z. But because I'm not, you're not motivated to be your natural self. That's what she's hearing. Like, I'm curious how it's coming up in her system, like how it's hitting her. Because that's a lot to hear from someone that you are attracted to, that you do want to cling to. And now she's saying, well, now that he's even open to the dogs, I'm even more attracted to him. I want to say, like, hey, Jasmine, I'm concerned. Like, I'm concerned. Like, one, I see where Eris is trying. He is not like quitting, right? The process. He sees Jasmine's worth. He does. Oftentimes, though, the way that he sees Jasmine's worth is like, in the area of servitude, which is there's a part of me that gets a little activated by that, just because women, yes, we have been socialized to serve, and at the same time, we are still a woman outside of that, outside of a mother, outside of a wife, we're still a woman. Like, those are roles we play, but that's not all of who we are. And there's a part of me that feels like that is how Eris sees Jasmine. And I don't know if it's because there's no attraction, or if that's just how he sees women, like the role women should be playing in his life. This woman should be his wife. This woman should be the mother of his children. That's it. Right? And Jasmine is more than that. Jasmine is more than that. Now they shared what they liked about each other, and Pastor Kel told Eris that he is overthinking this. That potentially too, there may be a part of him, like a rebel part, that is pushing back at this process because he's being forced to do it. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I feel like Eris is not physically attracted to Jasmine. That's not his type. That is the reality, right? And I'm concerned about if he's going to be able to grow to be attractive, right? And be physically attractive, drawn to Jasmine. I'm concerned about that just because of Eris having a very short turnaround, right? Like, he was just in the streets just 2 weeks ago, right? And now he's in this situation where it seems like he is trying, he's being honest with her for the most part. He's being honest with her. And so I just don't see if he's going to be able to do that. Like, that's a part of me is concerned about that, I should say. The part of me is concerned that he's not going to be able to grow the attraction to Jasmine, and Jasmine's going to be left there, right, with this broken heart, because she's there. She is wife already. Like, she has been wanting this, and she's been sculpted, truly. As a church girl, right? A church girl, she's kind of been sculpted to fit the mold. And he knows that's who she is. He even told Pastor Cal, like, I feel like you guys gave me what I needed. And then what's the impact of that? Oh, Jasmine saying, okay, but I'm not what you want. I don't know. I don't know if this can be an era where Eris can grow in this. I really don't. I hope so for Jasmine's sake, because she truly does like him. Eris has some redeemable qualities. He still has some areas of growth, right? With what to say, what not to say, how to joke in certain areas and all of that. Like, he has some areas to improve. And at the same time, yeah, I'm really concerned for Jasmine to be put in a situation where she is giving her all, and Eris is trying, but he's limited, right? He's trying, but he's limited. And his face sometimes, I don't know if it's just his face, like he has a flat affect, so he doesn't really show a lot of facial expressions, but there are times where he just doesn't seem engaged with Jasmine. Like, Pastor Cal talked about the physical touch and how they do hold hands, and he was touching her leg, and he said, this comes natural to me. And Pastor Cal said, yeah, like, just lean into that, focus on building the connection, and keep being natural, keep doing what comes natural to you. I think, Pastor Cal is coming from a place of, like, let me encourage you, let me build you up, let me, give you a rah, you can do it. Kind of like, that's the energy he's giving, at least in this episode with most of the couples. I hear him. I also want to see maybe too, if there could have been like a deeper conversation with Eris about if there's any fears, right, about this new step in his life. He has turned over a completely new leaf, and he's trying, but he also doesn't have a full model. His dad was murdered, taken away from him, so he doesn't really have like a clear model of what to do, and he's panicking. It seems like he needs some support. He needs like some support, and more than just like a one-time visit. He needs some support, somebody to check in and really see how he's feeling about this new process and new transition he's making. And with it being with someone that's not his type, how can he navigate this? How can he work this, right? Work through this. That's always my bone of contention with Married at First Sight. They just don't give these couples enough support. And Eric said, like, I have no doubt. Like, I told Jasmine, if I were to die and we had children, I would die peacefully knowing that my children were taken care of. Okay. I hear him. Like, that was maybe supposed to be a compliment. And in some spaces it was. Like, he knows that Jasmine is a great woman. He knows that she's dependable. He knows that she is loyal. He knows that. And he said that's a very big thing. Like, he knows that from jump. And they've, they only known each other for like a week and a couple of days. So the fact that he has that security in her is beautiful. And what about the other piece, right? That is still a part of marriage. That is still a part of, and a very important part of marriage. Physical touch seems to be something that they both enjoy. So next we have Shaquille and Kirsten. Shaquille is seeing Kirsten's apartment for the first time, and Kirsten is a bit concerned because she said, I don't have much in my apartment, and Shaquille has plants and pictures everywhere and a sewing machine and all the things. And we get to Kirsten's apartment, and it's pretty bare. And Shaquille fashion is like, this is like, where are your pictures? Where are your line sisters? Where do you put your phone? Like, he's like, this is weird. This is weird. Now, there could have been a better word choice that he could have used in that moment, but he does have this part of him that's very vocal. And says what he means. And so he's like, this just doesn't seem right. Now, her closet, that was causing him a lot of distress. And there's a part of me that's like, I'm curious if this is a part of Kirsten's, like, curated self that she's putting for TV. Like, is this her place? Did she have all of her things, like, taken out? She did say at the after party, like, she moved in during the pandemic and there was, like, this back order on her furniture. It never came, so she just canceled the order. And I'm like, well, okay. Are you going to order more furniture? Now, she did say she's a minimalist, and minimalists do have very little, things in their apartment. They still do have furniture, though. They have furniture. The only furniture we saw was her bed, pretty much. I'm like, did we see a couch? He asked about bar stools, so she didn't have really, like, places to sit. I don't know. Is this another way of Kirsten being closed off? Is this another way that she's being closed off? But Shaquille he's embracing it. He's trying to roll with the punches. He did say that, he needs to work up with her closet because his closet is very organized. And Kirsten's closet is not. And he just in there like, you just didn't hang this up. You didn't. And so that could be an area of growth that he can, help her in if she allows him to be present for her, right? That still remains to be seen. So the couple is meeting with Pastor Cal, and he's like, okay, how are things going? Like, how is it? And, how was the wedding? And they both kind of start talking, but then Shaquille piped up. It's like, our families, it was just like they clicked the first day. And that was just amazing. It was amazing to see. And Kirsten said, yeah, we have this connection. Did you hear her say this? We have this connection that's just, it's natural. It's natural. We just vibe together so well. And he said, okay, well, what about the chemistry? Is there any chemistry? And Kirsten said, not really. And Shaquille's reaction to that, it was like another stab in the chest. What are you talking about? We don't have any chemistry. And he said, well, not from my view. Like, she lays on top of me when we're asleep. I kiss her forehead like we're cuddling. And Pastor Kel said, well, that sounds like some chemistry to me, like a little something happening. And she's like, yeah, just the physical attraction piece. And then, I still have my walls up. And I know I need to let them down to be more vulnerable. And at the honeymoon, we had that moment where we were, having this discussion because he just jokes too much. And there's a time and a place for everything. And I don't know. Kirsten has this part of her that seems to, like, I'm curious if this curated version of her is something that she pulls out, like, often. Because it's like she wants Shaquille to be curated too. She did say she wants him to be open to continue to be open and vulnerable with her so that they continue to build their emotional connection. But he can't be giving all of his heart and not getting anything from her. That's putting him in a space where he's not going to feel safe in a relationship. He's already giving. He's already like sharing his story, sharing all of him. And he's just sitting there like, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to get to know about Kirsten. I'm really waiting. And she's like, I have my walls up. I have an issue, with trusting people. And when I don't say what I need, I just don't get my needs met. I want to know more about these walls. I want to know more about these walls. Are these walls or is this just you don't like Shaquille? Tell me what's happening. I know that her family did say that it could take her a long time to warm up, right? They did say that. So I am seeing evidence of that, but there's still this little thing in the back of my shoulder like, do you like Shaquille? Do you like him? I see that there is a bond. I don't know if it's a friendship bond, but there is a bond that's growing between them. And Pastor Cal told Kirsten, hey, my wife thinks that my jokes are corny, and she just gonna have to deal with it. And really what he's encouraging Kirsten to do is to accept Shaquille for who he is. It seems like there's a part of her that had a picture of what he was supposed to look like, how he was supposed to act. And Shaquille isn't meeting that idea. And she's trying to change it. But that's not Shaquille. Shaquille is him. And he's secure in himself as well. And he's also like, I'm not going to be in a situation where if you're going to say that you are trying to change me. Like, he wants to be himself. He's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with me being corny. I want to say the joke, so I'm going to say the joke. And that's a part of marriage. That's a part of any relationship. Just embracing each other's humor, all of it. Like, just that's the fun part of marriage. And I'm like, wow, she's not even embracing like the fun side of Shaquille. And I'm really wondering how that little boy and Shaquille, or even how grown up Shaquille is feeling, not being fully accepted by Kirsten. I want to know more about Kirsten. I really do, because there's so many walls up. There's the camera, right? So I'm sure she's conscious about how she's appearing on camera. And at the same time, she's in this experiment where she's meeting someone for the very first time, and it's a lot for her. Got it. I want to know more about her. Still very curated, still very protected. She's very protective. Like, she's got walls. It's giving very much like Jasmina. She's much sweeter, right? She's nicer than Jasmina. However, she does kind of come from a place of like, okay, we need to now Michael, she would tell him like, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's how she's coming at Shaquille a little bit. Like, don't say the jokes. Okay, there's a time and a place for everything. Embrace him, enjoy him instead of curating him. Like you're curating yourself or picking away at him. Allow him to be so that you can embrace him or reject him if you need to, and you be you. Just be you. Like, let it out. I'm curious if she's ever just let her hair down. I mean, we saw it a little bit at the bachelorette party that there is a part of Kirsten that can be free and open. And I just potentially think that she just doesn't want to be that way with Shaquille. Right? And so Pastor Cal's encouraged her to be more open, share more of herself. And Shaquille said, yeah, I'll ask her a question about herself and then she'll turn it. She'll turn it right on to me. And well, Kirsten said, okay, next time, we're going to keep it on me and I'm going to share. Just the energy in which she said it. It was like, I don't want to, but I will. I want to know more about that. I don't want to make assumptions, right? I don't want to make assumptions. I just want to know more about Kirsten's story. There's a reason why she's showing up like this. There's a valid reason why she's showing up like this. So I want to know more about her story to understand the protection that we're seeing. Truly. Next we have Clint and Gina. And Clint is seeing Gina's apartment for the first time. And I'm like, you guys live in the same building. I'm sure you have a very similar floor plan. But he's getting to see like how she's decorated her apartment. I really love her bed. It's really cute. And he's seeing that the dog is there. It's got room to roam around. And he's really looking forward to them sharing a space together. Oh boy. And it's like in the very next scene, she says, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little unsure about us sharing a space together. I'm a bit uncomfortable with how things are. Just the romantic vibe. It's just not there. It's not there. It's missing. And so I think we need time apart. Gina. I'm embracing my inner Jasmina. Now, Gina. There's a part of me that feels like she's already made her decision. There's a part of me that feels like she's already made her decision and she's done. Like that comment hit a space in Gina that and it feels like it's unrepairable. Like there's a part of her that has stepped up to protect that one that has felt insecure about her body, and she's like, I'm done. We're done with Clint. We've decided. And Clint's like, I want to stick with this. I want to commit. We're in this together. We signed up for this process. I want us to spend time with each other. I think we can work through this. So, okay, Clint. Okay. This is truly why I started to do these reviews, because we have different parts of us, right? So Clint's got this part of him that says things and doesn't realize what he's saying. Okay. He also has a part of him that is still committed and trying to work through this relationship. Right. And so, yes, we have our spaces where we have areas of work. Right. And at the same time, there are qualities there that are redeemable. Right. We are complex human beings. We truly are. And so Gina's not buying it, though. She's like, I don't know. I'm probably not going to move in. Right? Because I'm just not in a space of like walking into all of that uncertainty. And I'm like, I want to know more about this. It really feels like I just don't want to be around him. I don't want to be around him anymore because of what he said. Right? And so Clint is like, hey, maybe we could just stay in separate rooms. We can stay in separate rooms, but we'll still be in a shared space, sharing time with each other, building the connection. Right? That's what this whole process is. And Gina's over it. I truly believe that. She stated, hey, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm forced. I'm forced to do something. And, like, I don't want to say at the end of these 8 weeks, like we just forced ourselves to go with the motions just because, it was a part of the process. What are you hearing under there? What I'm hearing is why do I have to go through the 8 weeks with you? Why do I have to do that? I'm done now. That's what I hear. Right? And Clint's now in a situation where he's like, well, I don't want her to feel forced to do anything. Right? That's the last thing, right? He would want her to feel like she's being forced to do something. He's like, so I'm just going to let her do her thing. But I just really feel like we need to be in a shared space. So Pastor Cal is coming to visit them, and he's reading some vibes off of Gina. Like, okay, I see something's happening here. And Gina said, yeah, I have a tendency to wear my emotions, on my face. And so he's like, so how are things? Where are you guys at? And Gina said, hey, I really have a part of me that tries to like find the great stuff, tries to dig for the treasure, like find the good things, right? And, it just hasn't been clicking. It hasn't been happening. And, the athletic slender comment, like that is still a part of this journey for me. It's still right present, and he said, yeah, I get that. And so Pastor Kel said, now wait a second, Clint, you can't tell me that you don't find this woman attractive. And Clint said, I didn't say that I don't find her attractive. That's not what I said at all. I just said what I had dated in the past. And then Gina says, well, when you said athletic, like I feel like that's some assumptions. That's about my weight. And it's a fact, right, that I'm not athletic. She felt like it was a judgment to her character. She's like, how do you know if someone's athletic or not? Like, I go to the gym. I do 5 days to 6 days a week in the gym, and I could probably work you out in the gym. And I'm like, oh, Gina, okay. Like, this is kind of dissolved to a space where she's truly seeing Clint as like an enemy, and she is really throwing darts, right? She's throwing darts. There's this little one that was really wounded by that comment, really was, and it's coming out, and it's like throwing darts at him, and then he of course is like, he's like, well, it's not like she didn't say anything about me. The ginger comment. And she's like, well, in the hair world, that's a word we use a lot, and I apologize for that. But Gina is resolved. Like, she's not moving in. And Pastor Cal's like, okay, can we just say the truth, basically? Can we say, like, is this a space where you're making a decision now? Because truly making a decision now to not move in is sealing the fate for the relationship. It's already a little rocky space. To not move in with each other, that's only going to increase the distance. In order to create a foundation of safety in a relationship, especially in a marriage, there needs to be a space of intimacy and trust. And being physically in the same space helps that intimacy along, right? This is a marriage. And I know that this is a marriage in an unconventional way. And at the same time, it really feels like Gina's made her decision. Like, it's made. And so Pastor Cal's like, hey, this is why we paired you two. You both love adventure. You both want, right, to see and enjoy the finer things in life. But Gina, you need someone that's going to help you embrace that. And she starts to tear up a little bit. She's like, yeah, I do need that. But it's like, what's unsaid is like, but I don't want it from him. Like, I do need that, but I just don't feel like I'm going to get that from Clint. He's gone to a place of no return in her mind. That's really what I feel in this situation. And Clint is trying. He's trying, and he's apologized to her. And I'm curious if Gina can attend to that little one that has been hurt by these words and really see, why she's needing to protect her this way. This one that has created this wall, that wants to give distance, wants to pull back, and also throw and defend herself. Like, how dare you say I'm not athletic? You don't know my workout regimen. Like, she has this part that's really jumping up to defend her from this accusation. Is taking it very personal. And I want Gina to get curious about that. I really want her to get curious about that, to get to know this little one inside of her that is showing up like this. Because it's obvious that Gina has had some experiences, as most women do, because our bodies, unfortunately, are scrutinized. They just are. They're scrutinized, and so it is a very sore space for a lot of women, and that's why there's these movements of body positivity and even body neutrality, where you can even just appreciate your body as it is, right? Instead of forcing yourself to be hyper positive about it, which may be, a little unrealistic. Some days you might not like what your body looks like, but you can still appreciate how it's showing up for you, right? And that's why they have these movements because of that fact. And so Clint's area of growth, with him not really realizing how his words would land with Gina and the other women, this is where they are. And I just don't know if Gina's going to stick with this. Gina stated that, hey, if we move into the same apartment, we're just going to live in separate rooms. And that's just going to feel even worse. Like, even worse that we're living in separate rooms. It's going to make her feel even more uncomfortable. I really wanted Pastor Cal to kind of dig in a little bit more there. Like, instead of getting curious, Pastor Cal, he does not get curious at all in these sessions. I know he's not a therapist, right? And maybe because he's not, maybe he shouldn't be doing these first meetings with the couples. I'm just being honest. Like, maybe Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper need to be like the matchmakers, right? And that could be their role. But there's a separate team that comes in to work with these couples, right? Because there needs to be some curiosity there to sit with Gina. Okay, to be curious to say, okay, you feel like being in separate rooms is going to, like, end the relationship. It's going to feel super awkward, but living in different apartments is going to feel better. How? Like, it's going to feel like you're moving in the right direction. How? Right? And I don't know if she's trying to work with a part of her too that maybe just doesn't want to deal with him. And so this is like her like negotiation even with herself. Like, we're going to still be in this process, but we just cannot live in the room with him. I want her to be just a little bit more honest. The way she's talking about this is very, it's not giving a lot of detail. I'm not comfortable, and I don't want to make any uncomfortable moves. Like, that is how she's talking about this situation, but not saying more. And I want to know more about this, right? The conclusion I'm making is that she is done with the relationship already. But I really want to know more about why she's showing up this way. Next, we have Nicole and Chris. And so they are meeting with their dogs, and the dogs are meeting each other. And Nicole is meeting Chris's dogs for the first time, going to Chris's apartment. And she's meeting them, and they are humping everything. And Nicole's getting excited because she's like, if they are modeling Chris's behavior, then she's in the clear. But they're excited about getting to know her just like regular dogs. And this is, right, them building, right? You can tell they learned from last season where, okay, we'll have Nicole meet the dogs first, and then we'll have the dogs, right, meet in a neutral space, in an open space. And they really, they kind of sniffed each other a little bit, and then they just kind of like chilled out and went to their corners, and that's fine. But they were able to interact and kind of build a little familiarity before coming in a space like that's closed off, right, where they may be more alert to protect, right? And so things are going well in the doggy department. And Nicole is like, I'm just looking, forward. I'm looking at future now, like after 8 weeks. Like, I really want us to get our dream home and build it together and have a backyard for the dogs to just roam around in. Like, that's what I want. And I'm like, oh, Nicole, you're in for a rude awakening. Just wait. And so Nicole stated that they worked out the arrangement, right? Her father's going to stay with her dog. She's going to be able to see him on a daily basis. And they're going to, work through it this way with the lease agreement only allowing them to have 2 dogs. And she's going to need just some extra cuddles from Chris, because she's going to, miss the cuddle she was getting from her dog. So Chris is like, hey, we talked about our leases and they both end at the same time. And I don't want us to be forced in a situation where we don't know what's going to happen. Like, we don't know what's going to happen after these 8 weeks. These are going well, but maybe further down the line, they're not. And so I was thinking maybe we renew our lease for about 9 months because I have to let my people know, like, next week. And so right now, he doesn't feel comfortable moving forward with them planning to live together at the end of this process. I see the practicality of that. I see the practicality of that and the realisticness of that. He's like, let's just err on the side of caution. And at the same time, I'm wondering how this is showing up for Nicole. Like, Nicole's like, hey, I would rather we just live together. Like, I don't understand why we would move away from each other. And I'm concerned about, like, that becoming our natural. Her natural thing where we just continue to grow further and further apart. You hear that it's like there's this little one that's like anxious about not being with him all the time or having that closeness. Like, she's really wanting to be close to him, which rightfully so, because they're married, and so she's concerned about it feeling like they're dating and that they have to schedule time to meet up with each other. They already have busy work schedules, which she did talk about earlier. He's like, yeah, but we haven't moved in, we haven't lived with anyone before, and so like that's a thing, and so maybe we need to do it gradually. And so she's a bit caught off guard by this, but later we find out as they're sitting down with Pastor Cal that she did agree to it. Pastor Cal is like, okay, I'm here. Things are going great. Here things are going smooth. And you guys are just moving in the right direction. And they're both, talk about how they're just really enjoying each other and their connection. And Pastor Cal asks, oh, hey, Nicole has a strong personality. Like, we know this. So how are you doing? How are you doing with that? And Chris said, hey, I haven't experienced, any issues or anything like that. And Nicole said, yes, you have. And they show this footage of Nicole screaming and yelling at the camera about the picture that they framed for them from the wedding because she didn't like the picture and she thought it was an awful picture and how could they think that this was a good picture for them. And so then I'm like, okay, now is Chris dismissing things? Is Chris being honest about things? Does he have concerns about Nicole's temperament? And does he have concerns about living in the same space with her, but maybe doesn't want to say that? I don't know. But he's not being honest about it. She is. She's like, you did see me, and that's something we have to work through. And Chris said, well, I have, but I just don't, it hasn't been directed towards me, right, as of yet. So I'm okay with that. And he said, in the past, like, he's like, it's not a huge secret. Like, I've been walked over in my past relationships, but I am going to speak up for myself. I'm going to speak up for myself. I'm not going to let Nicole walk all over me. And so far from what we've seen, he's been showing up a little bit, right, for himself. And even in the situation, he's like, hey, I feel like we need to maybe not jump into living in with each other. And Pastor Cal said, okay, why? He is discouraged. He's like, now one of these couples want to move in with each other. What's going on? What's happening? Everything seems to be going wrong, right? It's a part of him that's discouraged. He really has hope, and so as do I for Nicole and Chris. And so he said, I give it 2 weeks. I give it 2 weeks before you guys are trying to find a place to live with each other because things, are going so well. And I hope they do continue to go well. That footage that we saw of Nicole, that did show like she has a spicy side. And she's got this spicy one. She's also got this nurturing one for Chris, right? And so curious as, their relationship evolves, as Chris does something that maybe like irritates her or upsets her, that spicy one's going to show up towards him. Like, that's a part of this thing. That's a part of relationships. That part's going to show up. I'm curious how Chris is going to navigate that, right? How he's going to respond in that situation. If he's going to walk away and then later on, like, have a conversation, or if he's going to say, hey, like, I don't think you should talk to me this way. Like, I'm curious about how he's going to show up, right? We also learned that they did consummate the marriage and that things are, very mutual in that department. And moving well in that department. And that's something that they actually want to continue to do and continue to grow, and they feel more close in this relationship. So Nicole says she's just going to bend. She's going to bend. She's going to sign the 9-month lease, and she's going to, move at the pace that Chris wants to. So we'll see how she feels about this. with the patience level, right? It seems very much like it reminds me of the Nate and Stasha situation where he didn't want to move in. For him, it was trust. Like, it was a trust thing. And he's like, I don't trust that she's going to want to have me there when things start to get rocky, right? And so in this situation, Chris is really just erring on the side of caution. Like, there's a part of him that's like, hey, things are going well, but in the past, things went well, and then things went completely left. And so we need to prepare ourselves. We need to make sure that we are making measured steps, right? And so that's what's happening here. And so then Pastor Cal asked about if they've exchanged the L words, and they both said no. But Nicole said, but I ask him, what do I ask you every day? If it's decision day, would you say yes, right? And, do you love me, right? And so Pastor Cal was like, that could be a bit dangerous depending on the temperature of your relationship. Like, what if you have a bad moment? That could leave you in a situation where potentially he may say something hurtful, or it may do more damage to the relationship. I agree with Pastor Cal's sentiment, and I just feel like even before, like, oh, what if it's bad, and he may answer that question in a way that may be harmful, I just feel that it could potentially be annoying. And I feel like it can be a bit unsettling for Chris as well. Like, am I going to constantly have to be reassuring you all the time? That could be a part of him that has that question. And Nicole having to, one, be secure in herself, right? We know that she has this part of her that questions her lovability, that questions if somebody's going to accept her for who she is. And so that may be the part that is asking this question over and over again. This is also a nerve-wracking situation too, like marrying a stranger, really liking this stranger, and then, making sure that he accepts you and that the relationship is going to continue to grow after the 8 weeks. So I understand truly how Nicole has this part of her that wants to make sure every single day. And at the same time, I want her to kind of be with this one that is uncertain, and for her to take care of this one that has that worry instead of asking and putting it on Chris to do it, right? Last, we have Dominique and McKinley. Oh boy, Dominique and McKinley. And so, we see McKinley. McKinley is doing his individual cam. He's like, okay, we're going to see Dominique's apartment. And, he's like, her apartment's going to be nice. That's what it is, and I'm the dude in the basement. I'm the big loser here. I'm like, oh boy. So we have this part of him that's doing this self-deprecating humor and being sarcastic about the situation. So there's some hurt there, right? There's some hurt there. And he's what I'm hearing him say. It's like, I'm the problem child. I'm the one who has all this work to do. Dominique's the one who has it all together. She doesn't need to do any changes. She doesn't need to do anything to show up better in this relationship. It's just all me, right? He's holding it in his body. It's there. And so they're in the apartment, and she's like, so you want to take a look around? You want to take a look around? Well, there's also there's some awkwardness on her end too, right? Because you would think she would try to walk him through her apartment, seeing it for the first time, but she's like, you want whatever you want to see, just look around. And so both of them, right, are already coming in with this unspoken stuff. And Dominique is discouraged by this. She's like, I don't understand. I thought he would want to learn a little bit more about me and show more motivation and interest. And so this is McKinley. As you said, this is my husband. This is McKinley. This is who he is. I just feel like he's had so many shots, right, to him being accepted. He doesn't feel accepted in the situation. So it's really dwindling his motivation to show up and be present. There's a part of him that's why try? There's nothing she really likes about us. And so they are packing up things, right, in the apartment, getting ready to move. Right, and Dominique is joking about, well, maybe I'm not packing. Maybe I'll just stay here. Right. And so they're driving. They're driving to the apartment, and Dominique's doing a temperature check. Hey, how things going? how is it? He's like, your apartment's nice, it's cool. She's like, well, like you didn't seem that way, like you didn't walk around, you didn't do much. He's like, well, Dominique, you don't show interest in me either. Like, I'm doing all this work, but you're not showing interest in me either. Like, I have dogs. You haven't asked about my dogs. And Dominique said, well, we have a lot of things like that we need to talk about. That's bigger than the dogs, right? And so that's why that hasn't happened. And I mean, your dogs aren't even here yet. And so how does McKinley hear that? Oh, so you're saying because my dogs aren't here, they're not important to me? You see the defense? The protectors are there. Everything is an offense now. Everything that McKinley is hearing is a hit. It's a hit to him because she doesn't accept me. Oh, here's another thing that's wrong. Oh, okay, here's another thing, right? And Dominique said, no, I didn't say that. Both of them are not really truly communicating directly with each other. They're not. And this is kind of where both of their maturity level is showing quite a bit. It seems like direct communication is not a skill that McKinley really has very well. And that's how he uses the humor, right? To try to communicate things indirectly. And then he's using some passive aggressive communication in this moment. And Dominique herself is. And it's really showing that they have a lot to work on. Like there's a lot of skills to build to really have a healthy relationship. And they're already in a space where there's a lot of contentment brewing, right? McKinley doesn't feel accepted by Dominique. And now Dominique's at a space where she's like, McKinley's not showing enough interest that he's really want to be present in this, and he's still coming from the space of being negative. She's like, I'm a positive vibes only type of person. I hear her, right? Positivity is great, and we want to have a safe space and have calm energy. And at the same time, for her, I will have to say the way she is showing up for McKinley isn't all that positive either, right? And saying that you just want positive vibes, it kind of puts a person in a space where they're not able to be open and honest with you. Like McKinley has been showing up for Dominique, just not in the way that she wants him to. And he said that, like, I've been spiraling since the honeymoon, and I feel like I'm making all these changes and they're not good enough. And then Dominique said, well, I feel like you think I want things to be perfect. I'm like, Dominique, you do. Like, you want them to be how you want them to be, right? She wants to commit to a relationship where everything fits how she wants it to go. And that's just not how it is, especially not on Married at First Sight. And McKinley's like, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. If I'm not showing up how you want me to show up, then it's not okay. It's not okay. It's rejection. That's what it is. It's just rejection. And Dominique needs to be honest about that. And so they're moving into the new space, and he's like, so are you gonna put your stuff in the room? And she's like, no, not really. I think I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna head out. I'm like, oh boy. Okay, here we go. And McKinley's like, you don't care about my dogs. You're not moving in. I'm like, okay. This is bigger than the dogs, McKinley. It says your dogs are important, but this is bigger than that. That's a part of it. But what's happening here, like, Dominique doesn't feel safe. She says she doesn't feel safe. He has none of his belongings are even in the space where he's living in. And she just feels like any moment he can get up and go and move back to Michigan. That's making her feel unsettled. And she was hoping to have someone who was more secure. And so Pastor Cal shows up to the apartment, and Dominique is coming in there, and they haven't seen each other since she left. That was 3 days ago. We're already in a space where we're doing some things that are immature, not for building a relationship. Going 3 days without talking, that's not saying that we want to move together, right? Now, Dominique did say on the after party that what's not being seen is like that McKinley will have these long lectures about how he isn't pleased with who she is, and that he doesn't feel like he got what he wanted from the experts. And so Pastor Kyle comes in and Dominique says, "You got some explaining to do." And Pastor Kyle said, "You do too." Okay. And so Dominique says, we both feel like we didn't get what we asked for. We didn't get what we asked for. And she's got the air, right? Pastor Cal picked up it. He's like, okay, it feels like you're just already armed and poised for battle. Like, what's up? What's happening? And so Pastor Cal hears their grievances, which are not big grievances, right? These are all spaces where you can compromise in any relationship where you actually liked each other, because I just really feel like these two just don't like each other, okay? In any other situation in a relationship where they are like wanting to build together, you would see some compromise. Like, oh, okay, you're not much of an adventure person, I'm gonna bend for you, as he did, and there would be an appreciation for that. Also, like, okay, you're not a dog person. You don't want dogs all over your bed, which I get. Like, you don't want dog hair everywhere. Okay, we can compromise. As McKinley said, he would. Dominique just doesn't want him. And I just want her to be honest, right? And so this Pastor Cal said, just tell me, are we moving forward or are we not? We do see in the previews that it's continuing, but that's where we pause, right? But I really feel like this is where their maturity is showing. Their maturity level is not there for this. Not there for this. It really isn't. Because I do understand Dominique's concerns about McKinley not having a place. I would love for Pastor Cal to even own, hey, production, this is kind of our bad too, because production asked him to move up here, right? Because he was recruited for this show. And so that's where we did you a disservice, Dominique. And at the same time, we feel like there's some good stuff that you both could help to give each other, right? But when it comes to Dominique voicing her concerns, Pastor Cal is kind of dismissive about it. Like, he is kind of dismissive about it. Like, so what? So what? He doesn't have his own place. Like, he has his own money. Like, it feels like Coming to America. The boy's got his own money, but he has his own money. He's established. It's not that he's broke. He just doesn't have a place here yet, right? But that's still giving Dominique some pause. I get that. I get McKinley's side of it, of I'm bending, and there's no appreciation for my bend. It's just complaining that I have to bend. Like, that's the complaining. And both of them are complaining about each other. Where Dominique is saying that McKinley is complaining, Dominique is also complaining about McKinley. It's coming from a very childlike space. There's a lot of growth that both of them need to do before they have a committed relationship. So it gets to a point where Dominique and McKinley are kind of going back and forth. Dominique is talking, and then McKinley kind of comes in to interrupt her, and she's like, bro. Like, she called him bro, and I said, oh no. We're at a place now. We're at a place now where it's not even like husband and wife connection anymore. Like, he has annoyed her to the space where it's a wrap. Like, she doesn't even see him as someone that she's in a relationship with. Like, she's like, can I talk? And then he like cowers down. I don't know if you notice his body language. His head went down. He's like, you're right. I'm sorry. I did that. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I just don't feel like this situation needs to continue anymore. I don't feel like it's helpful for either of them to continue on in this relationship. And I know, again, like, it ends in suspense, right? And at the same time, I just don't see how this situation continue will be helpful for either of them, as there are just so many things that were working against this couple before they even walked down the aisle. The age difference, him potentially being from Michigan and coming here just for the show, right? Like, just so many things. And so with that, I would say no. Oh, and the fact that her mother signed her up for this. She didn't sign her up for this. You know, neither one of them signed themselves up for this. That's the issue. You have to have the want to in order to work through some of this stuff. And they don't have the want to. That's why these things that are very small, like personality difference when it comes to adventure, that's something that you can find a compromise in. That's something that usually there's one person who's like the daredevil, and there's one person like, there's no way, Jose, I'm doing that. And you find a rhythm. You find a way, like, okay, I'll embrace doing some of this, right, with you. I won't do all of it, but I'll do some of it. Oh, you don't want the dog on the bed or on the couch. Got it. We will make sure that happens. We'll train the dog. We'll keep the dog in this area of the house. Very small things, but they don't want to work through the small things because they didn't want to do this. Like, truly, there's a part of them that didn't want to do this. And so there's a part of me that hopes that Dominique says, let's just end it. But we see that there are signs and scenes with them after this episode. So they continue on. But it just, this situation isn't going to grow like into something better. It's not. It's a wrap. But I really would want Pastor Cal to ask more about Dominique, of like, what is it? Ask more. Okay, you don't want to move into this apartment with him. Why? Let's talk about it. This is a big concern. Why? To hear her out. Instead of dismissing her concerns, because some of them are valid. They are valid concerns. And so to be further dismissed by Pastor Cal puts also Dominique in a situation where she's like, well, I already wasn't going to move in with him, but you're not going to be. I'm already upset with you because I feel like you didn't give me what I asked for. Okay? Like, let's put ourselves in Dominique's shoes. You didn't give me what I asked for, and now you're dismissing my feelings about this man not having his own space. Okay. It's a wrap. I'm done. Right? So I need Pastor Cal Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper taking, if you ever watch these videos, which you probably won't, but if you ever do, maybe take more of a hands-off approach and hire some counselors who have the skills to actually counsel, to actually provide some counsel to these couples. Because really what Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper do is like encourage them to stay together, try to give them hope, cheerlead them on. Dr. Pepper does give them a little support when it comes to like the things like that's underneath that's causing them to show up in this way. But Pastor Cal, hands-off approach. You just be an expert like the matchmaker, even though I have to say that the matchmaking situation is not showing up that well in this season. I'm like, none of these couples out of me. Okay. Except for Chris and Nicole. Like, that's the one I'm hoping on. You know, that's the only one I feel like really has some staying power. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts about these couples, where you feel they are, if you feel like they're going to make progress. I don't see much happening with a lot of these couples. Sad to say. Do you feel like Gina and Clint are going to make it out of this? Do you feel like Eris is going to be able to develop attraction for Jasmine? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. If you're still with us, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.